Now it's time for PopVox. That's POPVOX.com, the weekly bill roundup. All the bills on the Hill in Washington, D.C. These are the bills that you Americans should know about, and PopVox brings it to us. That's POPVOX.com. And I just take my little spin on things. I'm Will Roberts. All right, here we go. Now, this week, the whole big thing, well, the top bill is immigration reform. It seems as though it's a good reason because both Democrats and Republicans are finding bipartisan support on this. Whether it has to do with economics or it has to do with the 2016 elections, I'm just not sure. I guess that'll come out in the wash. That's depending on who's doing the washing, if you know what I mean. All right, so here are the bills on the Hill. Number 1, S-744. That's the Border Security, Economic Opportunity, and Immigration Modernization Act. It's basically the Comprehensive Immigration Reform Act. Number 2, H.R. 2005, the Personalized Handgun Safety Act. Now, this is the act that they want to get to be able to personalize each gun, not by scribing your name into your guns. I have that, though. It says Will Roberts on my Colt 45s. No, not that. What they want to do is they want to pass a bill to be able to make sure that the guns that come out in the future have this technology that only go by your own hand, which is a great idea, unless you consider the fact that it might take 50 years to get rid of all the ones that don't have it on there. Number 3, the Farm Bill, and that one's called S954, to reauthorize agricultural programs through 2018. I say you have to go to PopVox, that's POPVOX.com, to check that one out. Because sometimes you get the bill, and of course it's face down, and you don't know what to expect, and you want to look at it before you give your credit card. I suggest we do the same thing. Number 4, S122, the Fair Tax Act. This is basically that whole thing about being able to kind of get rid of the IRS, which I bet is real popular right now, and to be able to have this sort of fair tax, one thing. We talk about it on my show, so tune into Will Roberts Weekly Telegram for that one, willsays.com. But anyway, this is the one where they want to do one tax and kind of eliminate the IRS, and, however, it'll never pass. Number 5, H.R. 3, the Northern Route Approval Act. It's basically, this act is for the Keystone Pipeline. Yeah, that's another one we might want to check before we pay the bill. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not just going to be some green sort of tree-hugging person when I talk about this, but I say when we say about footing the bill, we might want to find out what it costs to repair or take care of damage from a leaking pipe. It just goes to show you that the longer your garden hose is, the more you have to search down the line and find the little hole that's spewing out all the water. Number 6, H.R. 1962, the Free Flow of Information Act. This is the whole press thing, leaking and the government wiretapping. Yeah. Number 7, H.R. 1993, the Prevent IRS Overreach Act. That one goes without saying. Number 8, H.R. 1699, the Genetically Engineered Food Right to Know Act. Yeah, I want to know what's in my food, but I've said this before, I'll say it again. If that was the case, I might not ever eat again. Number 9, H.R. 890, the Preservation Work Requirements for Welfare Programs Act. Whew, sounds complicated. Go to PopVox for that one. Number 10, H.R. 45, surprise, repealing Obamacare. Number 11, this is called the Toomey-Schumer Manchin Amendment. This is where a Democrat and 2 Republicans decided they want to do a bill together, so I think that's worth even looking it over. Take a look at it. PopVox. Number 12, S809, the Genetically Engineered Food. It's the same one. H.R. 2058, and that's the Childhood Cancer Survivor Quality of Life of Act. Number 14, S826, the Tobacco Tax and Enforcement Reform Act. Number 15, H.R. 537, the Social Networking Online Protection Act. Number 16, the Salmon Rule. Number 17, H.R. 1921, the Fracturing Responsibility and Awareness of Chemicals. It's about fracking. Check into it. Number 18, H.R. 676, the Expansion and Improvement Medicare for All Act. Number 19, H.R. 1580, to affirm the policy of the United States regarding Internet governance, taxes. And number 20, H.R. 258, the Stolen Valor Act. Well, that's it for this week. Go on down to Popbox, that's popvox.com. Check them out. Get involved. Get with it. If not, then get to your nearest airport, get yourself a ticket to that other country that'll give you a better deal. See you next week. And remember, go to Popbox, popvox.com. And my site, Will Says, WILLSAYS.com.
All the way from the West Coast, it's humorist Will Roberts and his weekly telegram. The highlights and lowlights of all that's happening in and around the world. All right, Will, what's the scoop?
All right, Will Roberts' weekly telegram. Will Says, that's WILLSAYS.com. I made it simple. It used to be WillRobertsWeeklyTelegram.com, but I ran out of breath and you ran out of attention span. Today on the show, I'm very excited because you know what? I always try to have people on the show that really help us really take what I say, Will Roberts Weekly Telegram, and really the antithesis of all that stuff that's out there and get it to us. And I'm very lucky in saying that I have a gentleman on by the name of David Mark. He's the editor-in-chief of a website that if you don't know, I promise you, you will know. As a matter of fact, your friend's getting a tattoo soon, might even put this on their body somewhere. It's politic.topic.com. Hard to say, easy to find. It's POLITIX.TOPIX.com. I have to tell you, I am a big website fan. I like to go places, do things, and check things out. But what I like most of all, because you all know this, is making sure it's easy. And here it is, my biggest criteria. It communicates and not just rant. Rant's the four-letter word. So on the show now, I have David Mark. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. I don't say much about my guests because I like them to tout what they do best because they can do it with all the passion and fervor that they have. David Mark is an editor-in-chief of Politics. He was previously a senior editor of Politico and a reporter on Capitol Hill, right there on the source on the Hill. He's the author of a book called Going Dirty, The Art of Negative Campaigning. David, welcome.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at your site. I like the logo. The logo makes me go, ooh, cool. I like that. That's neat.
Well, we got the red, white, and blue motif going, but we tried to get a little bit artistic with it. When people see it on Twitter or Facebook, they'll say, oh, what's that little interesting doodad? And click on it. And so far, so good.
And you know, I think you just defined our attention spans by saying, what's that doodad?
That pretty much sums up the media age in which we live.
It really does.
Listen, people have divided attention. People have families, they've got jobs, they've got a lot of claims on their time. So you kind of have to be able to get to people's interest really quickly and grab them in. Otherwise, somebody else will, and they'll never see your stuff online.
I totally agree with you, and I have to say I'm so glad that it's not an icon of like some buxom woman or someone's gun. So it catches my attention.
Check out some of the pictures we have. No, they're all in good taste.
Oh, good. Well, okay, first things first, I'm going to get into some news because you are definitely the authority on this because I've looked through all your stuff, and really you have on the homepage, if I was, as my humor life leads me, my political and social humor, I could grab 5 of these stories and take off anywhere. It's really great. But I want to say something, and again, folks, this is not an ad. I just always sound so excited about things because I don't have things on my show unless it's exciting. But I like the fact that, David, you have have a really great thing, and a feature is that you show, I think, how long it's been on there, 1 hour. It has 30 comments, and here's a biggie, a poll where you can vote. Because I tell people all the time, David, that the reason why or something really becomes viral or people take hold of it and really have passion to make it work is because we can see what other people think of it, not what the media thinks of it. Is this part of your model?
Yeah, absolutely. So much of the news is a one-way conversation. I mean, that's kind of how I came up in the news business. That you write an article, you do the reporting, and then you just present it to the reader. And there's a place for that. But I just think in this day and age, people want to be interactive. People have so many sources for news. They kind of feel like, why are they the authority? Why can't I come and say give my view on it? So what we do with every element on the site is give people a chance to participate. As you say, we do have what are called debate maps up at the top of the page, all around, asking people what they think about a current issue. Each story ends with a question or a user prompt where we always ask about, what do you think about whatever just happened in the news? So it's never just a one-way conversation. We always give people a chance to give their views and respond.
Well, that's the key, and I'll tell you, there's one of our people that does a segment. I've had my show filled with segments, and one of them is called the Pop Box Weekly Bill Roundup. It's a young lady in Washington, D.C., literally on the Hill, Rachna Chowdhury. And Pop Box actually, it takes the bills on the Hill, all the bills, and they let people sort of in a nonpartisan way be able to kind of respond. But they really, what they've done, and you have done, I've noticed is that people aren't just ranting and screaming, because nowadays what's happened is that our conversation has become anything but a conversation and become more of a rant. And most of the time people get their facts on Google, and we all know about the fact that Google can be swayed by the mere fact that anybody can write anything and put it anywhere. So there it is. And I like the fact that you do that. So let's get to a couple of the news stories. Oh, first of all, Going Dirty, the art of negative campaigning. That is something that I think might become a Bible of politics. I think you can do like Idiot's Guide. You can do 1, 2, 3. You can get up to changing and seeing how things are going. Where can we get that book?
You can find it on Amazon, on Kindle, all the normal places that you would be able to order books. You can just type it into Google. You go to my site, davidmark.org. You can order it there, any number of places. And probably the most pleasant surprise I got out of that book years later, it got mentioned in a Jeopardy question a few months ago. And that came out of thin air. Usually when you're trying to promote something, you have an idea when an article's coming, or you certainly know when you've been on a radio or TV gig, but that just came out years later. So that was among the most gratifying things, other than sales, of course.
Other than sales. But I tell you, that's really great. I've always said that if I could get some of my stuff in the Congressional Record, my own humor, that would make my day. However, I think Jeopardy is a close second. That's a great thing to be able to have. So there it is.
Yeah, a lot of people saw that one. All of a sudden, it was actually on New Year's Day. It was a pleasant New Year's surprise. The evening of January 1st, all of a sudden my phone started ringing. I got a bunch of text, emails, and people said, "Hey, you were just on Jeopardy." I was like, "Really? I was watching a bowl game or something." That came on.
I love that. Hey, I don't normally do this, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm actually going to purchase a copy of it here on the Will Roberts Weekly Telegram. I'm going to give a copy of Going Dirty, the Art of Negative Campaigning to... I want someone to email us on the site. You go to Will Roberts Weekly Telegram or willsays.com. Send me a message saying, I heard the interview with David, hysterical, funny, I laughed, I cried, whatever. And I'm going to give whoever emails me first, will@willrogersusa.com, a copy of it. So there it is. I'm going to promote it more. All right.
Very kind. My publisher says thank you already.
No problem. Okay, so here we are. I'm scanning through the pages. I've got, all the different things going on. The front page, I see all the different articles on there, and it looks like, how many writers do you have that are pushing out your stories?
We just have 4 full-time editorial people writing stories. That includes me, and I've got plenty of other duties, so I'm sort of in and out on that. And then we do use a lot of freelancers and outsiders, like we have rather actually serious subject matter today on Syria and Hezbollah and what's going on in the Middle East. That's by a think tank in Washington, D.C. We also focus heavily on quizzes, which people really like, and that is by far the best trafficked element of the website. People love to come in and take quizzes. So we use outsiders for that and various other articles, but just for full-time editorial staffers. So we're a lean operation.
I mean, it really is a great site. So here I am looking at the stories, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I could talk about Michele Bachman, but the one that caught my eye was, of course, Michele Bachman, good looks, because I thought about it. The article basically says, did Michele Bachman's good looks get her ahead politically? And I was watching a bunch of her stuff and went, boy, she sure is pretty. And then I saw this, so you're hitting what we're thinking, so I think that's kind of cool. But the one that really came to my mind, and I saw it, and it hit me dead straight in front of the eyes here, which I don't see on the homepage anymore, is about the kid. The kid in, I'm not sure where he's at, but here it is. Boy suspended for gun-shaped pastry. He was given a lifetime membership to NRA. Now that's hysterical news.
Yeah, it's interesting. Those are a couple topics, guns and Michele Bachman, that really get people going. We had a lot of coverage of Bachman because she is such a polarizing figure. And I wrote that story about whether her good looks got her ahead. And I admit, I wasn't sure am I being sexist by this. Admittedly, I ran it by a couple female colleagues to say, like, am I totally being like a male chauvinist pagan? No, it's a legitimate issue.
Yeah.
And frankly, a lot of Republicans in Congress say similar things to her, but they don't get the attention. She stands out, just like Sarah Palin did. There just aren't that many women in politics that look like that are, attractive, at least for their age, you might say.
Well, but,
and so she always gets people going.
Yeah, but see, we talked about the fact that the very first thing I said, which was not something I planned, but looking at your logo, and I said maybe if you had $1 a month. So come on, it's out there because we all know that sizzle sells, and so does lack of bathing suit, whatever, male or female. So that's not a surprise. All right, Will Roberts Weekly Telegram. We are here with David Mark. He is the editor-in-chief of POLITIX.TOPIX.com. We'll be right back after this break. Hey, folks, here's some great old public service announcements. I'm going to sprinkle them throughout the show. Enjoy.
Ladies, there's still a shortage of fats to make soap, so save and sell every pound of used kitchen fats. And remember, you get more money for used fat today, so keep saving it and keep selling it. Waste fat makes soap, so don't waste fat. Fill a tin and turn it in.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I call a spade and stop being an entertainer? When this war came, our soldiers left their homes to defend yours. You stayed comfortably in your own home during the war with a roof over your head. They lived in foxholes, if they lived. Now, these veterans can't find homes to live in. Remember, if it weren't for them leaving their homes to protect yours, you might not have yours right now. So give them a break, will you? Good night.
Ah, the great outdoors. With sunny weather, blooming flowers, and fresh air, many prefer to spend their time outside. If you have Social Security business to tend to, that's no reason to ditch the outdoors. You don't have to wait in an office. You can handle much of your Social Security business from your laptop, wherever you want to be. You can do research, use My Social Security, even apply for benefits online as you sit on the beach. As long as you have an internet connection, you can do business with Social Security. So enjoy the great outdoors. We'll bring the office to you, wherever you want to be. Learn more and do more at www.socialsecurity.gov. That web address again is www.socialsecurity.gov.
Okay, astronaut, you're up. You'll be meeting with Wish Kid Brandon.
Roger, Brandon.
His wish is to see a space shuttle launch.
All systems are go. We are clear for liftoff.
This year, more than 27,000 children will be diagnosed with a life-threatening medical condition.
And, Cowboy?
Yes, ma'am.
You'll be meeting with Shayla at a dude ranch in San Antonio.
Let's saddle up.
Some will miss school. Some will miss time with their family and friends.
Princess, are you here?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for rescuing me from that evil witch.
Juliana wishes for a princess-themed room makeover.
That sounds magical.
But with your help, The Make-A-Wish Foundation can lift their spirits and give them a special kind of hope.
Pirate!
Yar!
You're up for Isaac's wish.
Aye, aye, Captain.
The wishes of thousands of children are waiting to come true.
You can help make my wish happen. Visit wish.org today.
You may be hearing about people having trouble making mortgage payments and risking losing their homes. Many of them just aren't aware of the options that can prevent foreclosure. There are many options available to homeowners, such as repayment and forbearance plans, loan modifications, and even refinancing. Where does someone go for help? They should talk directly with their lender or a qualified HUD-approved counseling agency. Both can provide helpful information without charging a fee. According to PMI Mortgage Insurance Company, it's not a good idea to pay for services that you can get for free from a lender or a qualified nonprofit counseling agency. To learn more, visit homesafepmi.com or call HUD at 1-800-569-4287 for a counseling agency near you. That's 1-800-569-4287. This message is brought to you by PMI, supporting sustainable home ownership that strengthens communities.
All right, Will Roberts Weekly Telegram. We are back from the break, and if it sounds like I'm laughing, I was just telling one of my jokes to our guest, David Mark, and he wasn't laughing, and so I had to laugh for him. That's okay. All right, we're back on the show. David Mark, he is the editor-in-chief of Politics, and that's POLITIX.TOPIX.com. I am totally convinced that I love this site because of the news and information, and I was telling him earlier, I think I may get a tattoo. I don't believe in him, but I might get a tattoo on my back that says that. I'll just, when I go to the Hill, it'll really intimidate all the politicians. Oh, there's that guy from Politics. All right. David, welcome back on the show.
Good to be here. I appreciate the promotion, but I can't say I recommend a tattoo. You might regret that 30 years from now. Look at that and say, what was I thinking back then?
It's just crazy.
I don't like needles under the best of circumstances, like going to a doctor, so why you would voluntarily do that? But that's a whole other subject.
That is a whole other subject, and I will have you back on for that. But let me just say that here's the story. We were talking about this whole, one of the stories I saw in here, of course, is about this kid who got kind of busted and suspended for 2 days because he had a pastry and he bit out and shaped it into a gun, and he was suspended by his school. And so a Republican politician basically bought him an NRA membership for the year. That's hysterical. I would say the thing that concerns me the most is not about the weapon. It's the fact that we're feeding that kid that processed food. I don't care if it's loaded or not. That's type 2 diabetes right there. So odd stuff. But guns is not, because we get that a lot. And I bet that's a hot topic for you folks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's anytime you have guns, particularly with kids, and it's actually quite a serious subject matter, of course, but people get really riled up over guns, and it's an interesting issue because there is still a pro-gun majority in this country. Like it or not, a lot of Democrats, I think, don't quite understand it. It's the reason why background check legislation, something that seems relatively mild, can't get through, because a majority of people in this country still support the right to bear arms, and they say it in the Second Amendment, and the fact that it's in the Constitution. It would be like saying, well, yeah, we respect your First Amendment rights, but before you make that statement, you got to get a background check or something of that nature. It wouldn't go over very well. So
right.
It's something that people care quite passionately about.
Yeah, they are passionate about it because, unfortunately, it's kind of like anything that happens. I always say that people are nowadays getting involved. It's kind of like the medical thing, which means you find out that you have something, or maybe you have someone that's terminally ill, and that's usually when we find out that we want to change our diet. Dope! Little late. I don't mean to be rude, and I'm just saying that in our politics, in our world nowadays, a lot of times people don't show up for the elections until it's the presidential one, and they spend $1 billion on each side to be able to wave the flag saying mine is better than yours. So I really appreciate what you're doing with politics. I will add that you do have Popbox on there. I noticed that the weekly Bills on the Hill, which we have every week, Rachna Chowdhury from Popbox, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of Popbox, every story that we run on politics that mentions a piece of legislation in Congress, we have a link to it that goes directly to their site. It's fun to watch, and there's all kinds of interesting subjects up there.
There is, along with your site. Politics, that's politics.top.ix.com. David, Mark, we really appreciate you being on the show today, and I'm going to do the best I can to cyberly twist your arm to come on again and maybe give us a weekly update. I'm not really sure. I know your schedule is crazy and you're probably all over the world, but really appreciate you coming on again. David Mark from Politics, and you know what? We'll see you next time, and I bet we'll see you soon. Thanks for your time, sir. All right, Will Roberts Weekly Telegram. And now we're going to kind of check in with on the Hill in Washington, D.C. And I understand that it's very warm in Washington, D.C. and even a bit smelly there, I understand. And I'm not talking about the politics. Rachna from PopFox, how are you? What's going on there in Washington, D.C.?
Well, first, it's 90 degrees and humid. But on top of that, there's a sinkhole that's 20 feet deep on the street at the intersection of Pennsylvania Avenue and 14th Street, which is just in the heart of downtown D.C. And that's just been causing complete chaos. And the sinkhole is so deep, it's hit a sewer line. So it's a hot, smelly mess.
Are you talking about Congress?
Luckily, it's some blocks away from Congress, but you can insert your own symbolism.
That might be the escape route for, when they're trying to get away from this Obamacare 59,000th vote. All right, so...
Well, don't forget, Congress is in recess this week, so lucky for them.
I can't even believe it. I'm serious. They have, again, I've said this before, I'll say it again, but our kids don't even get a recess in school anymore. They don't even get a break. And lo and behold, Congress gets yet another recess. I want to know what they're doing. I want to see the reality show called Congress on Recess. It's like spring break. All right, so what's happening on the Hill from PopVox? That's popvox.com. Bill's on the Hill. What's going on?
So the most important issue amongst PopFox users last week was immigration reform.
Yes.
And this is that Senate bill that we've been talking about. It's bipartisan. It's passed through committee, and the next step is to move it to the Senate floor. But Senator Reid has indicated that the Senate will begin considering this in June, which is next week. But debate might go on through the summer.
Wait, I got to say something. Okay, would you agree that it's hot in D.C.?
Yes.
I looked online and saw that it is hot, so we both agree it's hot in D.C. Let it be so. Why can't they get this stuff moving faster? I mean, come on. This is kind of common sense, which ain't so common anymore.
I don't have an answer for you.
I know you don't.
I can tell you what they're doing or not doing, but I can't tell you how the sausage is actually made.
And you know what? That's just one, a visual that we don't want to know about Congress people. And number two, I'm on radio, so there it is. And in Washington, D.C., if you go there, it might be in smell-o-vision just because it smells. All right, what else is happening on the Hill?
Well, there are some other interesting bills that came up this week amongst our users, and one was the newly introduced Childhood Cancer Survivors Quality of Life Act.
Mm-hmm.
And this would enhance research programs about children's cancer survivorship.
Right.
And when I was looking at the top 20 list, this really popped out because the stories in support of this bill were very compelling. So it's worth taking a look at that legislation.
Right, and if you go to PopVox, popvox.com, it's HR 2058. Check it out, and you know what? I can't say that I wouldn't agree that this one shouldn't be top on the list because, again, with all of the societal things and all of the things in our air and our food and everything, I between that and childhood obesity, I would say that it's time to take notice on that and certainly try to, if not take care of ourselves as being the older people, at least look after our kids. All right, so what else is going on?
Well, there was a very interesting piece of legislation that I thought you might be interested in since you love talking about guns. But the Personalized Handgun Safety Act would provide for new gun technology that would create personalized handguns.
I know.
So this is very James Bond. But basically, the bill would require that within 3 years, all guns manufactured would incorporate technology where it knows who the person is before it can be operated.
Absolutely.
And that, I think I saw that in the James Bond movies.
I love it. Okay, Rachna Chowdhury from PopVox says popvox.com. This week, the Bills on the Hills. Be safe, be careful, and please, by all means, don't breathe in.
Thank you.
At this moment, throughout the country, millions of motorists are beginning to wend their way home along crowded highways from a long Independence Day weekend. It is at times such as these when accidents happen more frequently, when death and driving draw closer together. You can help to decrease the accident and death rate on our nation's highways. Excessive speed for driving conditions is a major cause of many motor accidents. Control your speed at all times to keep within the safe speed, not just the legal limit. America's professional truck drivers are taught to drive ahead of themselves and to avoid accidents by seeing them threaten before they can happen. They know that careful driving keeps them from having accidents which may take lives. Speed is the #1 killer on the highways. So drive carefully today on your way home from an enjoyable weekend, and tomorrow wherever you go in your car. Exercise caution, courtesy, and the golden rule, for the life you save may be your own.
Ah, the great outdoors. With sunny weather, blooming flowers, and fresh air, many prefer to spend their time outside. If you have Social Security business to tend to, that's no reason to ditch the outdoors. You don't have to wait in an office. You can handle much of your Social Security business from your laptop, wherever you want to be. You can do research, use My Social Security, even apply for benefits online as you sit on the beach. As long as you have an internet connection, you can do business with Social Security. So enjoy the great outdoors. We'll bring the office to you, wherever you want to be. Learn more and do more at www.socialsecurity.gov. That web address again is www.socialsecurity.gov.
Okay, astronaut, you're up. You'll be meeting with Wish Kid Brandon.
Roger, Brandon.
His wish is to see a space shuttle launch.
All systems are go. We are clear for liftoff.
This year, more than 27,000 children will be diagnosed with a life-threatening medical condition.
And, Cowboy?
Yes, ma'am.
You'll be meeting with Shayla at a dude ranch in San Antonio.
Let's saddle up.
Some will miss school. Some will miss time with their family and friends.
Princess, are you here?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for rescuing me from that evil witch.
Juliana wishes for a princess-themed room makeover.
That sounds magical.
But with your help, the Make-A-Wish Foundation can lift their spirits and give them a special kind of hope.
Pirate!
Yar!
You're up for Isaac's wish.
Aye, aye, Captain.
The wishes of thousands of children are waiting to come true.
You can help make my wish happen. Visit wish.org today.
You may be hearing about people having trouble making mortgage payments and risking losing their homes. Many of them just aren't aware of the options that can prevent foreclosure. There are many options available to homeowners, such as repayment and forbearance plans, loan modifications, and even refinancing. Where does someone go for help? They should talk directly with their lender or a qualified HUD-approved counseling agency. Both can provide helpful information without charging a fee. According to PMI Mortgage Insurance Company, it's not a good idea to pay for services that you can get for free from a lender or a qualified nonprofit counseling agency. To learn more, visit homesafepmi.com or call HUD at 1-800-569-4287 for a counseling agency near you. That's 1-800-569-4287. This message is brought to you by PMI, supporting sustainable home ownership that strengthens communities.
All right, Will Roberts Weekly Telegram. Will says, WILLSAYS, itoldyu.com. I told you that the site, man, it's being really ramped up. We're putting a lot of great stuff on it. Our next host that's coming up, my co-host here, Johnny, it's foreign to me. He's got his stuff he's written. I've had people elaborate on it because we want to get out there. All right, so here we go. On the show, this part of the show, I like to do this one because it gets a little energetic here. Not like the other part of the show isn't, but he really ramps it up. Johnny, he's our roving radical. Here's his intro. It's foreign to me. Hey, Johnny, what's happening, brother? What's going on? Where are you?
Hey, I'm good, Will. How's it going with you there?
You know, it's good. We're kind of taking names and kicking things, and we're moving and shaking and grooving.
I know. The site looks great. It's all getting really, really ramped up well. Good job.
Yeah. So what is foreign to you today?
You know what, Will? It is all foreign to me. And I think every once in a while we just need to take a step back and take a look at the big picture going on, okay? So, if you can stay with me for a second, let me just see if I've got all of this straight, okay? Tornadoes are getting bigger. Ice caps are getting smaller. Hurricanes are more frequent. Droughts are getting longer. Ocean levels are getting higher. Deserts are getting hotter. Religious groups are getting more extreme. Corporations are getting too big to fail. Governments are failing.
Wow.
Infrastructures are falling apart, right? People are less ethical than ever. And The Simpsons ratings are down on TV.
Oh, my gosh. I'll tell you what.
So it seems to me like we are in the Mayan prophecy of doom and gloom here, and it's all coming true.
Right.
This is the end of the world that we're living.
You know what? You know what?
Like
Wait, I want to see if you can get everything that you just said on a T-shirt, because, man, that was cool summary.
Okay. We'll make a T-shirt. We'll put it on the site, okay?
I like it. Go.
Now, there are a lot of ways to look at all of this, right? And I've always been the glass is half full of bourbon kind of guy myself.
There you go.
I think we should just sit down and have a drink, okay? Because it is possible that all this madness is out of control, and we will all be perishing soon in a slow, agonizing collapse of everything we hold dear. But I'm an optimist, so I try to find the bright side of things, right? The big plus here is that all the credit card debt you've racked up ain't going to matter much longer, right? And then there's the fact that with just a small rise in the oceans or a medium-sized quake on the San Andreas, we get Yuma Beach here in Arizona where I am.
I know. It's big stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So if you are not preparing for a collapse of the economic and social systems, you're in denial, in my opinion. Having a plan is important, and you and your loved ones should have a plan together. Putting together a supply of water, food, medical supplies, and equipment is essential. We've talked about this, you and I,
have. Yeah, we have. And, you know, having your fire plan is great, but this is a good one. And I have to tell you, before you go on, Hotshot, listen, I have to tell you before we go on, Johnny, here's the thing. I'm very optimistic, too. I used to be the guy with a half glass full. Now I'm sort of the, where did I put the glass anyway kind of guy. But tell us what we need to do to get ready. Tell us what we need to do to get ready.
Now, to this plan, I think you should be adding a getaway plan to get out of Dodge with your family and things before it all goes bad. This is all like insurance, right? Hope you don't need it, but the time to get it together is before you do need it.
I agree. I agree. Preparedness, right? Stores are only one bad incident away from bare shelves. As you know, any major disruption in our infrastructure will stop the trucks. Yep. And when the shelves are bare, all etiquette goes out the door. People go nuts when this happens. Yeah,
right?
but
you got to be prepared for it.
You do, but you know what? If that doesn't work out, then I'll tell you what. The only thing you're going to have to do is go visit your Mormon friends in Utah. They have supply for everything in the basement.
Yeah, we should take a look at some other good news going on around the world, right?
Yeah.
The Syrian civil war is on the brink of becoming a world war now. Our bipolar senator here in Arizona, John McCain,
just went over there, and he's pushing for us to go in because, what could go wrong with that? And now the European Union has lifted the arms ban on Syria, and the Russians are now sending anti-aircraraft weapons. Hezbollah in Lebanon is going all in this war now. And Israel is, of course, getting more nervous.
Yeah.
Even Japan, even China has chimed in on things now. So we have the makings of a great TV show. Who wants to start a world war?
And it's the Americans, and I said this. I want to tell you something about McCain. I was at his election thing in 2008, and he lost, and they didn't know because the older generation didn't know how to work their, the Google. But here, I lived in Arizona, so I know, and I just can tell you right now, I think that McCain just has an itchy trigger finger. He just wants to kind of make it happen. But you are right. Again, we manufacture war. That's what we have. That has a big old sticker on it that says "Made in the USA." But this whole thing about the Chinese hacker getting in and stealing all the warplane stuff and the plans.
Right.
I would not worry about that, and I'm telling you, I would not worry about that because listen, it's China. It'll be made out of lead. It won't get off the ground, and if it does, before it hits even about 5 feet, it'll fall apart. The only bad thing is, I think they'll be selling them at Walmart and the 99-cent stores. That's the Black Hawk helicopter. Don't worry.
There you go. Now, one last thing before we got to go. I know we're running up against the time here. I'm loving the latest scandal in the latest scandals. Right? It turns out that many of those teabagger 501c4 applicants that the GOP is crying about being over-scrutinized by the IRS, they are actually illegal. They made false statements and do not meet the criteria for 501c4 status, right? So the scrutiny was warranted. And we should be looking at these political groups more anyways, right, on both sides. It is obvious that if we look at the letter of the law, these and many other applicants do not meet the standards for the tax break. So the scandal here is really that these groups should never have been given the status in the first place and should pay back America for what they skimped on their taxes.
Yeah. Well, I actually talked to a bunch of Tea Party friends I know. They have the acronym IRS. They actually here's what they say it is. It's "I'm really getting screwed." That's what they're saying.
Yeah. They want to abolish the IRS. Who's going to pay for the bottles to be filled? I don't get it.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Hotshot. Johnny, your site, hotshotperformer.com. That's hotshotperformer.com. But, of course, you can go to Will Says. That's WILLSAYS.com. What's going on? Are you traveling? Are you getting ready to go somewhere? I know Day of the Cowboy's coming up, which is interesting to us and should be to all Americans. You do anything for that?
I'm actually, like many performers out there right now, I'm still being hit hard by the economic collapse and don't have a whole lot of work. I'm actually going to Illinois in 2 weeks to do a really fun show. If you're anywhere near Neoga, Illinois, I'll be there for 3 days at Neoga Days. Really fun place. It'll be a blast. They've got a great festival there, Neoga Days.
Now, I'll tell you what, Neoga's so far out of that area that I don't think Neoga's in Neoga. It's pretty far out there.
It ain't the middle of nowhere, but you can see the middle of nowhere from there.
All right, well, here it is, willsays.com. Check out what Johnny has to say, our roving radical on It's Foreign to Me. Will Roberts Weekly Telegram. When we come back, we're going to go hang out with Picture This, Armand Thomas from ArmandThomas.com. We'll see you really soon. Just wait for this break. We'll be right back.
You are listening to the Fowler Nation's newscast, and I'm Richard Fowler. Tonight I want to talk to you about food insecurity in America. 50 million households are rated as food insecure. And that number is up 76% since the recession started into late 2007, early 2008. Sadly, members of Congress right now are debating how to cut food stamp programs or programs that provide nutritious food to both children, working families, and senior citizens. And the question that I ask myself all the time is that Congress is willing to spend money to give corporate giveaways to oil companies, to corporate jet owners, to yacht owners, tax giveaways to millionaires and billionaires. but they will not do what they need to do for the least of these in this country. You cannot tell me in one of the most developed countries in the world that 50 million people do not have the food they need to live their lives. That makes absolutely, positively no sense. And to those people out there that believe that the reason why we're cutting these programs, people are dependent on the government, how dependent on the government could you be if you really truly live on food stamps? Understanding that for a family of 4, your food stamp benefit only permits you to have $2 for each member of your family for each day. $2! How can you possibly feed a family that way? Where is the justice? When will we stand up for our values in this country, saying that everybody has a chance at the American dream and solving food insecurity is the way to get there? To find out more about The Fowler Show, check out our YouTube page, www.youtube.com/Fowler Show, or check us out on Twitter, @Fowler Show.
At this time of the year, we spend a lot of time out of doors, hiking and camping and on picnic trips in the woods and the mountains. That means more danger of forest fires. This summer, thousands of acres of valuable timberland will be destroyed because of carelessness. And in these days of defense emergency, our natural resources are more vital than ever. It's up to you to be sure that you do not cause the tragedy, the shameful waste brought about by a forest fire. Just follow a few simple rules. Crush out cigarettes, cigar, and pipe ashes. Break matches in 2 after using them. Drown all campfires, then stir and drown them again. Find out the law before using any kind of fire. Forest fires destroy timber, wildlife, and the water supply. They destroy the natural resources on which our nation depends. So don't be careless for a moment when you're in the mountains or woodlands. Forest fires are our most shameful waste. So remember, only you can prevent forest fires. Now, Act 2 of Tales of the Texas Rangers.
Ah, the great outdoors. With sunny weather, blooming flowers, and fresh air, many prefer to spend their time outside. If you have Social Security business to tend to, that's no reason to ditch the outdoors. You don't have to wait in an office. You can handle much of your Social Security business from your laptop, wherever you want to be. You can do research, use My Social Security, even apply for benefits online as you sit on the beach. As long as you have an internet connection, you can do business with Social Security. So enjoy the great outdoors. We'll bring the office to you, wherever you want to be. Learn more and do more at www.socialsecurity.gov. That web address again is www.socialsecurity.gov.
Okay, astronaut, you're up. You'll be meeting with Wish Kid Brandon.
Roger, Brandon.
His wish is to see a space shuttle launch.
All systems are go. We are clear for liftoff.
This year, more than 27,000 children will be diagnosed with a life-threatening medical condition.
And, Cowboy?
Yes, ma'am.
You'll be meeting with Shayla at a dude ranch in San Antonio.
Let's saddle up.
Some will miss school. Some will miss time with their family and friends.
Princess, are you here?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for rescuing me from that evil witch.
Juliana wishes for a princess-themed room makeover.
That sounds magical.
But with your help, the Make-A-Wish Foundation can lift their spirits and give them a special kind of hope.
Pirate.
Yar.
You're up for Isaac's wish.
Aye, aye, Captain.
The wishes of thousands of children are waiting to come true.
You can help make my wish happen. Visit wish.org today.
You may be hearing about people having trouble making mortgage payments and risking losing their homes. Many of them just aren't aware of the options that can prevent foreclosure. There are many options available to homeowners, such as repayment and forbearance plans, loan modifications, and even refinancing. Where does someone go for help? They should talk directly with their lender or a qualified HUD-approved counseling agency. Both can provide helpful information without charging a fee. According to PMI Mortgage Insurance Company, it's not a good idea to pay for services that you can get for free from a lender or a qualified nonprofit counseling agency. To learn more, visit homesafepmi.com or call HUD at 1-800-569-4287 for a counseling agency near you. That's 1-800-569-4287. This message is brought to you by PMI, supporting sustainable home ownership that strengthens communities.
All right, Will Roberts Weekly Telegram, willsays.com, WILLSAYS.com. Send us a note, send us a tweet, send us anything you got, but all means just send us your listeners. We're out there in about, 12, 15 markets now. We're picking up speed. So if you want to hear the Will Roberts Weekly Telegram in your area, go to our site, willsays.com. It's in there. It says become an affiliate. All right, time now to open your minds. I mean, like you haven't before, right? It's Armand Thomas and Picture This.
Picture this. Chatting up corners of the world.
Picture this with Armand Thomas, ArmandThomas.com. He brings us to another level with our art because, there's a lot of it out there. Armand, what are we talking about this week? Give me something kind of interesting.
Well, last night, Will, I was pumped up because you know how much I like hockey.
Yeah, I
or
do.
the NHL stuff.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, the Blackhawks came back and they eliminated the Detroit Red Wings.
Slapshot goal! Yeah, I love the Blackhawks. I'm from Chicago.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Chicago because the Hawks have moved on to the finals of the West, and good for them. But then I started thinking, man, I like Chicago. So I thought, let's talk Chicago. Here comes the summer.
I like it.
Chicago comes into its own. Such a beautiful city. It's vibrant. It's progressive. There's so much of a music scene, sports scene, food, immigrants from all over the world, the melting pot. You call it the melting pot in the U.S., but in Canada we call it cultural mosaic.
Yes, because we eat more than we do anything else.
No, that's because you melt everybody. You try to assimilate. In Canada, they like to sort of make a mosaic out of them. But anyway,
that's true.
Chicago, you're from there. Aren't you from Chicago, Will?
I am. 60616. I always say that. People go, where are you from? I go, 60616. And they go, yeah, that's what I'm, that's down this. Yeah, I lived in the ghettos. And that time that I lived there, it was, and now I think it's just really kind of run down. But I've been there. But I have to be honest with you, now driving through those streets that I lived on is not really a good thing for a guy like me to do. Being honest.
What?
Well, because I'm a white middle-aged man. And I grew up in a very Puerto Rican black neighborhood. And so, again, I tell folks that I moved 15 times before I was 11. Bad checks. Truth. Anyway, but the fact is that I love that area because you know what? My memories of walking down those Chicago streets and being able to go into some of those places like a hobby store that had all those models back then and just the feel and going and getting a Chicago hot dog, a Vienna hot dog, or a White Castle hamburger. Hello, I'm back there again. I can smell it.
Or deep dish pizza, the Chicago pizza.
Yeah.
But talking about the photographic aspect of the city, it's just a gorgeous city. Chicago, as many people know, burnt almost down to the ground in 1871.
That's right.
Mrs. O'Leary's cow kicked over a lantern. That's not true. It was just a fun copy by some wag journalist.
Really?
But the city.
Wait. Really? That's not true?
No, it's not true.
Oh, man.
It's good folklore, but the city really burnt down. And so what happened after that is a lot of the planners got together and they decided to rebuild the city, but not just any way. In a very design, thoughtful, architectural way, which gave the city its current look. And it even has a name, Chicago Architecture. It certainly is a world-famous design school, and any visitor to Chicago will see how absolutely sublime all these buildings are along the riverfronts and the downtown area. Gorgeous city.
Amazing.
And it's really a beautiful city to go photograph because unlike many American cities, it was planned. It was reconstructed in the late 19th century, and everywhere you look has a touch, a stamp by a artist. The architects behind it were in the league to make the city as gorgeous as they could.
Well, I can imagine that being a photographer in somewhere like Chicago, because I've been there many, many times, you probably get a crick neck because you're always focusing up because it's got an amazing skyline. One of the pictures I want to say that I'm looking at, of course, you can go to ArmandThomas.com or our site, WillSays.com, which is being totally redone. It's amazing. You can see this picture. I love, of all the pictures you have, the one where you're shooting through a chain link fence and you see in the distance the two antennas. It's the, Empire State. It's the, what is it? What's the name? Sears Tower. It's one of those things that is so amazing that you can look at the skyline of Chicago and go, Chicago. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's the Sears Tower changed owner a few years back, now called the Willis Tower, and no longer, of course, the highest structure in the world, but for a long time it held that spot down.
Yeah.
You know what else hot in the news, Will, and it just so happens to hit the wire today, is that the Chicago Sun-Times, a legendary big newspaper, suffering like newspapers, cut their entire photography staff, 28 today.
You serious?
No more photographers.
Wow.
So talk about shooting pictures, and of course it's different kind of photography, but what they're going to do now is use freelancers, and they're going to actually ask their reporters to be carrying. Everybody's a photographer, Will, if you have an iPhone or
We
a
have
smartphone.
talked about this. We have talked about this, and this makes me kind of nuts, is that, go to, nowadays you go online and you want to be an actor. Everybody's an actor. Everybody's because of, reality TV, everybody's a director. Everybody's, an expert. Your doctor's no longer a doctor. He just kind of qualifies and goes, yeah, I guess that's what you got. But let's look on Google. I mean, it kind of makes me nuts that they're doing that. When you said that, I thought to myself, I bet they're going social media. Unbelievable.
Well, they are. And remember that the actual prints are being phased out. Newspapers are more and more online now on the screen, and it's easier now to simply get freelancers, part-timers, contributors to send them the pictures. They can go and shoot themselves. And I'm telling you, the quality and the speed of photography now has to such a point that they cut 28 full-time photographers on.
Yeah, that's too bad. I think they're depending on social media. All right, Armand Thomas and ArmandThomas.com. Picture this. It is a segment on our show that will never lose quality because we're always going for the real thing. Armand, thanks for spending the time with us this week. Folks, go to his site, leave a message for him, do something, send a note in the bottle, let him know you appreciate what he's doing because it is art. Armand, we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Will. Go to Chicago.
And get a hot dog. Well, that's the show for this week. That's the weekly roundup of all the political follies on Capitol Hill and, any other hill I can find something on or rock under. That's the highlights and lowlights, or lowlifes, in the week's news. Now, I just want to say that today we kind of touched on a couple of things in the news. Michele Bachman, of course, she's confident that if she's not running, that she won't be picked. Okay. And John McCain, who seems to have an itchy trigger finger. The IRS, which is kind of pointing their finger at the Tea Party folks. But the note I wanted to leave it on is this whole Chinese hackers thing. The Chinese hackers have decided that they wanted to hack in and take our planes and our weapon plans, But I'm not worried. And you shouldn't be either, because if the Chinese decide to make these planes or helicopters, well, they probably and most likely will make them out of lead, and they won't even get off the ground. And if they do, I can pretty much guarantee you that before they even get airborne, they'll fall apart. The only bad thing is that they might be available at the 99-cent stores or Walmarts near you. All right, that's the show for this week. WillSays.com. Go there. It's all been retooled. Real exciting. Go check it out. Leave us a message. Send us some kind of tweet or note in the bottle or send up a flare. Do something. Wave your hands in the air. We want to hear from you so we can talk about what you want to listen to. All right. Enjoy yourselves and check out the site. Lots of videos and audios and new columns from new people. We'll see you next week. Be safe.
You're listening to WEAT Radio, WPWC 1480 AM. Now get out there and do something.
Hello, this is Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and I want to tell you about my new favorite discovery, Yosemite National Park. I recently went there with my husband and children, and we walked the trails to see the breathtaking waterfalls, admired the grand meadows, and giant sequoias. But the future of our national parks is uncertain. Many challenges face our parks today, from polluted air and water to development threats outside their borders and inadequate funding to protect our national heritage. That's why the National Parks Conservation Association recently completed a decade-long assessment of the challenges facing our national parks, along with proposed actions that will ensure our children and grandchildren will be able to enjoy the parks as we have. Our national parks have inspired Americans for nearly 100 years. As we approach the centennial of the National Park Service in 2016, please join us in helping to protect our national park legacy. Find out how at www.mpca.org.